So you're so 8 days into it. So is it just water that you're having at the moment, or is there anything else liquid form?
No.
What's the go?
First 48 hours I was water only, and then I introduced 0-calorie fluids like black coffee and herbal teas. And the only other I've added electrolytes in there as well. So magnesiums, Himalayan salt, and only more recently, once obviously there was a fair amount of weight loss that was going on to slightly ward off against too much lean muscle mass being lost, I included some essential amino acids in there as well. But other than that, it's been no food as such. The science would suggest that if the body actually recognizes that you've ingested calories of any description, the premise of the fast is actually broken, and all the health benefits that I'm doing this for will be actually muted. So yeah, that's basically been all I've consumed in the last 8 days.
And how long are you going for?
Well, if you ask my partner, I've gone way too long. And I mean, there are some byproducts of this. And if I walk the listeners through what I've experienced over the 8 days, that might give them a little bit more clarity as to why it's been such an extended fast. Ultimately, irrespective of which kind of sort of nutrition pattern that you might follow as a person or as an athlete, whether you're a high carb person or low carb or paleo, like I mentioned, I'm typically a low carbohydrate, high fat eater, probably quite a clean and paleo form of eating. So very little refined sugars or refined foods in any way, or processed foods. So my introduction to the first couple of days of total abstinence of food was actually quite easy because I'm already quite well fat adapted, and it didn't take my body very long to start moving into a ketogenic state. And ultimately, the first 48 hours is quite important for what I'm trying to achieve, in the sense that we want to run whatever glycogens in the body are completely dry, so the liver and the muscles actually use up that glycogen because no carbohydrates coming in. And once that happens, you're typically into nutritional ketosis. But after about the 48-hour period, then the magic starts to happen. And what I'm after here is once the body goes into ketosis, and where we know that there's no carbohydrate coming into the system, then it starts to sort of want to become a little bit cannibalistic by its own default. The body starts to look around for any other internal fuel sources. So it knows it's got fat coming in, and that by default is being broken down and made into ketones to help supply fuel to the brain and fuel to the muscles. But the body starts to scavenge, and what and for want of a better description, I'll give you the scientific term. It's called autophagy. And that autophagy actually puts the body into a catabolic state, so breaking tissues down. And it's almost like recycling of cellular waste, and it's almost like taking out the trash. So it actually looks for cells, dead cells, organelles, all the different things that are in the body that are actually a little bit toxic, and it actually starts to try to consume them for fuel. So it actually does what is basically essentially a big spring clean of the body, but it only happens once you get past about that 48 hours to 36 hours of total fasting. So I did my first 48 hours. That wasn't too hard for me. I've done intermittent fasting for shorter periods in the past, so it's really just a little bit of a mind game to keep the boredom away from going to the fridge all the time. And once I got into ketosis, the other byproduct of ketosis is an exceptionally suppressed hunger. So once you're into full ketosis, you actually probably find that you start to forget about food, which is actually why it's been so easy for me to get to 8 days. And as I say, the end is whatever I decide it to be, because I'm in a state where at the moment I just don't think about eating.